Whelan Presley and Van Ho Funeral Homes have been serving Quad City families and veterans for over 100 years. Whelan Presley is located in Rock Island, Milan, Reynolds, and Van Ho in East Moline, proudly supporting WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.
This month, new leadership for thousands of Catholics as an Iowa boy becomes an archbishop. We talk with the Most Reverend Thomas Zinkula on The Cities. On October 18th, the head of the Catholic Church in Davenport will become the 11th Archbishop of the Dubuque Catholic Diocese. Thomas Robert Zinkula will lead 183,000 Catholics in eastern Iowa, an area that has a very special meaning to him. He was born in Mount Vernon near Cedar Rapids, ordained a priest in Dubuque, appointed bishop in Davenport, and now just days away from being installed Archbishop where his service to the church first started, Dubuque. The Most Reverend Thomas Zinkula sat down with us to talk about the church, his humble beginnings, and his charge for the future. I don't know what to say. Do you say congratulations? But I got to say congratulations. I mean, becoming Archbishop is that a dream of yours?
I can't say that I've ever considered that. No, I mean, in terms of what to say, a lot of people say congratulations. And it's fine, it's good, you know. The Pope thought highly enough of me that he thought I could do this job, and so but it's sort of more of a secular kind of a term, like in terms of you know, people say, oh, you deserve this, and you know, kind of climbing the ladder sort of a feel to it.
Right.
People don't say, so that's the best, and that's fine. So people say that a lot, and some who are more cynical are sarcastic, offer their sympathy, condolences.
Because let's be honest, it's administrative.
Yeah, it's a harder role. But then no, the right answer actually, or the right response to that is to say, thank you for saying yes to the church. No, seriously, thank you for saying yes. You know, here's the Holy Spirit, hopefully working through this whole process, and the Pope ultimately, and you know, and he asks, you know, me to do this thing, and so my motto as a bishop is, "Thy will be done," or "Your will be done," from the Lord's Prayer, because I've always tried to discern God's will. Sometimes I don't succeed, and sometimes I don't say yes, but that's what I try to strive for, to say yes to God, and so God working through all this whole process, and. So thank you for saying yes. That really nails it.
But we were talking about your ascension to being Archbishop. It's not a job you apply for. You didn't send in a resume. You didn't have an interview. Your interview is every single day that you've worked.
Yeah, people. I kind of feel bad about that. Actually, I run into people here in the Quad Cities, and they're thinking that way, that I applied for this position, and I was tired of this church here, I'm gonna go someplace else or whatever, climb up the ladder. I didn't even know they were looking at me. And I didn't know that before when I was asked to come here. You just get a call out of the blue from the Apostolic Nuncio, who's kind of like the ambassador for the Pope. And so there's one in every country, and his office, the nunciature, is located in Washington, D.C. So he's the point person on surfacing priests who might be good bishops, and then also bishops moving on to another diocese. So he's the one that does surfaces names, and there's a whole process for that, and he does his investigation, he sends out questionnaires to all kinds of people. It's all secret. There's the pontifical secret, and so you don't even know what's going on, and then until you get a call. And
So it's just as jaw-dropping to you as it would be to anybody else. Not that you're not qualified, I'm not trying to say that, but just the surprise of that phone call would be like a lightning bolt out of the blue.
Definitely. So this time around, I was actually in Vietnam when he called, and it's a long story. It was a pastoral kind of work-related, but I was there, and I'd been paying attention to my email and my text messages just to stay on top of things, but not to voicemail. I just hadn't thought about it. So I'd been there 5 days, and then I one morning, early morning, I looked and, oh my God, the nuncio has called me a couple times. Fortunately, it wasn't too far in advance of that. But
can't believe you're ignoring him.
Yeah, I know, exactly, 2 times. So I called him, and he understood. Understood. And then, the Pope would like you to be the Archbishop of Dubuque, and they want an answer, like, boom. So.
How long did it take you to say yes?
Well, I said yes right away. The first time, when I got the call to come here, I asked him if I could have a little time, just to think about it, and and talk to the Archbishop and talk to my spiritual director, and okay, that's fine. I was thinking a couple of days, but okay, this is in the evening, and how about tomorrow? Middle of the day.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, and then it ended with him saying he's French, Christophe Pierre, so this French accent, but are you thinking about saying yes? Are you thinking about saying yes?
Give me some indication.
I was going to say yes all along, but yeah, that's how it works.
You're an Iowa farm boy. Born in Mount Vernon, just a little southeast of Cedar Rapids. You went to Cornell, did you not?
Yes.
And then you went into law at the University of Iowa, you studied. Tell me about those roots of yours, because, let me get this right, you are one of 9 children.
Right. 5 girls and 4 boys.
Yeah, you were outnumbered. So tell me about this upbringing that you had in Mount Vernon, a beautiful community.
Yeah. I always, people ask me about who are you, whatever, and I always start out if I'm a farm kid, because that was a foundation for me. Growing up out on a farm, family farm. My dad and uncle farmed together. It was a century farm. Like in the 1980s, my great-grandparents bought the first plot of land and they expanded from there. So a lot of rootedness, and I don't know. And then my parents were very active in the local church. First there was a little church. There was a little church, St. Peter and Paul, out in the country, a little Czech parish. My great-great-grandparents came over from Bohemia in the 1850s to Iowa City, right? And so, and my grandparents bought this land, and grandparents, my dad and uncle, farmed together, and so, that was my life. My parents weren't able to go to college. I don't know if my dad would have necessarily. He was into farming a lot, but my mother, she's a valedictorian of her class, and she would have liked to have gone to college, but wasn't able to. So that became our family dream, and all of us accepted it, and we were all going to go to college. Nobody fought it. We worked in the summers, and we weren't playing sports and extracurricular things to make money, put it away, because we had to all pay our own way. And so, in terms of the Quad Cities, 2 of my siblings, a brother and sister, went to Ambrose, and 2 went to Augustana, by the way. So interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. So my dream was to go to college. So I, went to Cornell, and I studied math. Math came easily to me, and most of my brothers and sisters, so I might as well study that. And then also economics and business. And so then, second semester senior year, that I was going to accomplish my dream, our family dream, and so I didn't have anything beyond that. And so what do you do with the math guy? I didn't see myself teaching. I had an internship my second semester senior year at Life Investors, which became Aegon, which became Transamerica, which became something else in Cedar Rapids, and as in actuarial sciences, in the actuary department, and it was good, and I went there. Worked for a year, and then it was all fine, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think this is for me. And I always had interest in the law. I was kind of tired of school after college, but then school wasn't that bad really. You know, it's a good life. And so I went to law school, and it was all good. I wrote for the Law Review. I was an editor for the Law Review. That was my kind of extracurricular there.
Tell me a little bit about that epiphany that gets you into the priesthood and you decide that this is where your life will be spent.
Well, I could have a big, huge, long story, but we don't have time for that. Everybody's story is different. I mean, priests love it when people ask them their vocation story, because it's very personal, very intimate, and it's all very different. For me, I don't know, there's a seed planted when I was in high school, my senior year, and but I was a shy, quiet kid. I couldn't see myself in this public role, and the pastors were older, and I couldn't. And they were probably younger than I am now, but they seemed old back then.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Right. So, but the seed was planted. I didn't do anything with that. The seed was planted though, and then I didn't think about it at all until I was 28 years old, practicing law, and I'd been praying for a couple years that there's something that God wanted me to do, trying to discern what that was on the side of service to others. I knew it was that, but I didn't. I was doing different things, besides practicing law on the side and stuff. And then, for me, one night in October of 1985, I was living in an apartment. I woke up in the middle of the night with this powerful experience of the Holy Spirit and a calling to the priesthood. So again, out of the blue, like those calls out of the blue about being a bishop, it was really powerful, and my heart was on fire. And that's ultimately, I followed up on that after I prayed about it and started going to daily mass and for a couple months, and then I finally acted on it and ended up in the seminary then the next year in Washington, D.C.
Then you end up in Dubuque. And I want to get you to the Quad Cities now.
Yeah.
For the last 6 years, you've been Bishop of Davenport. What has that experience been like?
It's been great. When I came here, it was all brand new, and I needed to figure this thing out. And I said to the people when I was ordained and then a bishop and installed, I need you to teach me how to be a bishop, because I don't know how to do this. So you need to teach me. And I remember at the chancery early on, people were, we were talking about different things, and people would say, "Whatever you want, Bishop, whatever you want," And after a while of that, I said, "You guys, stop saying that, because I don't have it all figured out. Don't just play up to me. Tell me what you think. And if I'm going to do something stupid, say, that is not,
right.
I don't think it's a good move. So let's figure this thing out together, and let's collaborate." And so I just kind of tried to find my way, and you gain confidence, and then okay, we decide to move in a different direction. I try to be collaborative, and to listen to people, and to walk together, and so we've just kind of, something comes up, and well, let's address that. Here's this need, So I early on, the first year even, I'm like, evangelization has to be the number one thing for me. So I said that as long as I'm here, that's going to be my top priority in terms of, we're becoming increasingly secular culture, society, people drifting away from institutional religion, including lots of young people as well, right? And so to just see that and not do something about that, that's our mission anyway, is to go out to all the world and tell the good news, and make disciples of all nations. That's should be what we're doing anyway. But this is a really different. Like Pope Francis said, this is not just an era of change, but it's a change of eras. This is a really significant time we're in, I think, right now. And so just name that, and we've been working on that really hard in my time here.
Let's talk about some of the issues that are facing the Catholic Church. And one of them, as you pointed out, is population. When you take a look at the churches, particularly for Dubuque, very rural area, you have 165 parishes, 68 have resident pastors, but 94 do not. Is that a concern of yours? And how does one reverse that?
Well, in terms of reversing it, I don't know, the demographics are against us. In the Midwest, we're older population, young people go to college and go get jobs elsewhere. Rural areas used to be these smaller farms, big families. Now they're bigger farms, smaller families. So, it's how do you change that exactly? Mm-hmm. But we need to recognize it. Dubuque, that's a lot of parishes that already. Archbishop Hannes, the priest that retired was Archbishop Jacobs. Before him was Archbishop Hannes, and he closed, I think, 60 churches.
Very painful period in the church.
Very, very painful. Really hard. So what do you do? Dubuque has been working on that for a long, long time, and they've been doing things like clustering or families of parishes.
Right.
They have in Dubuque, they call them six-packs. They have a couple of six-packs, 6 parishes, 6 churches that one priest oversees. Right. And if you started fresh, you just have one church there. Mm-hmm. But there you are. So
that has an impact though on all of those parishes with that split time.
Sure, yeah. Like 3 of them have Mass one weekend and 3 the other weekend, but there can be really good things that come out of it. So you collaborate and you share staff. Maybe you can only have like a part-time person here or a volunteer there. Well, come together, sharing resources, and you can maybe have a full-time person, and sharing programs, and that's what I've been encouraging. Before we break down into individual parishes, which is where your average person experience their faith and live out their faith as Catholics, but before that, we're a universal church, and we kind of lose sight of that sometimes. So there's things we can do to address the situation.
You talk about the church, but also the Catholic education had also been, the number of students schools have had to close. That has been in a decline. But things are changing this particular year with the state of Iowa and the voucher program. How has the impact been so far as Catholic education is in eastern Iowa?
Yeah, so it's all brand new. I don't know about Dubuque, the numbers there, and our numbers are preliminary because there's some flux, early in the school year. But it's looking like maybe it'd be a 10% increase, like 500. We have, I think, maybe 4,500 students, so 500 additional students. So that's really helpful for us.
It's a lifeline in some ways, is it not?
Yeah. The challenge for us is to we have older facilities and we pay our teachers less, and we don't have all the glitzy kinds of things, and so because the only income is parish subsidies and tuition. And so some families, it's a struggle to pay thousands of dollars. And teachers, you lose them. They love teaching there, but they can't make a go of it, or they have to have a spouse who has health insurance or something, has a good job. So with this, we can pay our teachers better, reduce the subsidies. Some parishes pay over 50% of the money to get. That's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't do it. Just impact what else you can do. Reduce tuition. The lower income folks with the STOs, the tax credit thing, they were being helped with that, and then there's scholarships in schools, and higher income, they don't have to worry about it. But middle income, we're really struggling sometimes, especially if they have more than one child in a Catholic school. So hopefully with this we can, free up some money to pay teachers better. And also we get criticized sometimes about, what about special needs students? And we actually do take as many as we can, but it becomes expensive though, right? To take care of those needs. So hopefully we can take in more of those kinds of students and assist them.
Talk a little bit about your outreach in the community. You have created a gender committee in Davenport. You've tried to deal with LGBTQ issues head on. Why do you think it seems like you're also very interested in marginalized sectors of society. I wanted to talk to you about ministering the inmates in Fort Madison, helping undocumented immigrants in Iowa City. Where does that come from for you?
Well, a couple of things. One thing, pretty much my whole adult life, feel like I've called to minister to people on the margins. I could give you, all these examples from back in the time I was in the seminary. Like I had a need. I don't know if you've ever heard of Covenant House, and I was in New York City. It's for runaway kids, homeless kids, and I heard about it, and somebody gave a talk at Catholic University of America in Washington, where I was going to school, and I wanted to volunteer there that next summer. So I, got it all figured out with the diocese and found a place to stay, and I volunteered, so just over the years, I've been involved in all kinds of different outreaches to marginalized, and so that's just my history. But then Pope Francis, is really pushes that. He talked about the peripheries and the smell of the sheep and going to the peripheries and walking with folks there. And so I agree. We need to do that more. So I've like when I was in terms of the prison ministry, my last two assignments in Dubuque were not in parishes. There's the Episcopal assistant to the bishop in the Cedar Rapids area, and then I was the rector of the seminary connected with Loras College. So I didn't have a weekend assignment. I sub a lot and stuff, but so I started once a month going to the Anamosa State Penitentiary. There's mass there on Sunday morning, and I like doing that. And so when I came here, there's actually 4 prisons in our diocese. There's Fort Madison, there's a minimum security in Mount Pleasant, there's Newton Correctional Facility, and then there's this Iowa, in Oakdale, kind of Iowa City area, there's this classification kind of place. Everybody goes there after their sentence, to go to assign them to some prison. So I've been going to each of those at least once a year to celebrate Mass and hear confessions and just, visit with the inmates. So that's something that's, I don't know, like I could be in the office and doing the administrative stuff, but I was called to be a parish priest. That was my sense of calling when I was talking about back in when I was practicing law, and so I love to get out of the office and do pastoral things. And I need to. I should be doing that anyway. So in terms of the gender committee, that I think it was 2021 that we started down that road. And because we were getting questions from schools and parishes, teachers, and staff people, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do in these situations. We don't know how to handle them, and we need some advice. And so we started. We put together this committee, and we're thinking about putting out a policy. Everybody's putting out policies, and so we looked at some of those that other dioceses in those early days were putting out, and then we realized we didn't know enough about this whole issue. So we started reading things and talking to people who are working in church settings with that population. And we decided, well, we don't know people, or at least, probably did, but they weren't kind of out of the closet maybe. And so, those are back, it was a pandemic time, so we were doing Zoom things, but we started having Zoom meetings, people who were trans and people who were, mostly we're focusing on those, the gender minority. And their family members, and we listened, about their experience and what their hopes for with the church, what the church would offer them, and they basically just wanted to be welcomed. We have our teachings and everything. Nobody challenged us on that. They just wanted to be welcomed. So we read and read and read. We started talking. We talked to psychologists, people that work in that field, professionals, counselors, and finally we're actually going to issue our document, October 4th, the Feast of St. Francis. We have it ready to go. It's called Guidelines for Accompanying Sexual and Gender Minorities. Our approach will be different. You know, I mean, we're not gonna, we're comfortable working in the gray. And you know, so there's the teachings of the church, and we're gonna abide by those, but then there's also welcoming these people into our parishes and into our schools and things. And okay, there's going to be hard things we have to sort out, and so we're going to deal with them on a case-by-case basis, and rather than this really strong black and white, because we're all trying to figure this out. So let's just, I mean, we can evolve with this thing, but let's just kind of take it where we are now, what we know, and we about this phenomenon, and then we want them to feel welcome, and yeah, we're going to have to do some, you know, pronouns and names and bathrooms and sports and dress and all that stuff. But we're going to deal with it on a case-by-case basis rather than this black and white kind of a thing.
Archbishop-elect Thomas Zinkula. The installation ceremony will be held in Dubuque October 18th. Well, we're heading into the month of October with some great ideas if you want to go out and about. Here's Laura Adams.
This is Out and About for October 9th through 15th. Check out the Aledo Fall Fest and Mercer County's Ride 17 Music Festival on the 14th. The Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds host Scott County Sheriff's Reserve and 97X Car Show on the 14th. Help support Friendly House at their Hogtoberfest fundraiser at the River Center on the 12th, while Empower House hosts their Spooktacular 5K and Fall Festival fundraiser on the 14th. The Hauberg Mansion presents Oktoberfest QC on the 14th until 9, and Walk for Wishes, Illinois, presented by Make-A-Wish, takes place at Murphy's Park in East Moline on the 15th from 11 to 1. The Freight House becomes the Fright House after dark every Friday in October from 6 to 9. On stage, Ballet Quad Cities present Ghost Stories at the Spotlight Theater on the 13th and 14th at 7:30. Playcrafters Barn Theater presents Skeleton Crew through the 15th, rated R. Dracula takes over the Bruner Theater at Augustana October 12th through 15th. And there's plenty of music with the Pork Tornadoes at the Rust Belt on the 14th, while Iowa Blues Hall of Famer Kevin Burt performs in the Redstone Room at Common Chord on the 11th. Thursday Night Groove finishes their season at Schwiebert Park on the 12th, and GIT Improv brings the funny to the Black Box Theater on the 14th at 7:30. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley and Van Ho Funeral Homes have been serving Quad City families and veterans for over 100 years. Whelan Presley is located in Rock Island, Milan, Reynolds, and Van Ho in East Moline, proudly supporting WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.